Bible time. Dominic Steele. Big weekend with Synod in the Greenfield on Saturday, and then teaching on the golden calf and the glory of God, Exodus 32 to 34, wrapping up our Exodus series. Now, John Avery has written in, Aaron was the leader of the disobedience, and yet his life was spared. Of course, he was a Levite who carried out the orders to kill the 3,000 men, but as the enabler, why was Aaron spared? And Lydia Parsons has written similarly, why did Aaron not get killed along with the brothers, friends, and neighbours? Now, the text on the sin, Exodus 32. Meanwhile, the people saw that Moses was taking a long time coming down the mountain. So the people gathered around Aaron and said, "Get up, make for us a god who'll go ahead of us, because we do not know what has happened to this Moses, the man who led us out of the land of Egypt." At this, Aaron said to them, "Take the gold earrings from your ears." Aaron said to them, "Take the gold earrings from the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." So all the people began taking off the gold earrings that were in their ears and bringing them to Aaron. And he took the gold from them, and he formed it with an engraving tool, and he made it into a statue of a calf. And they began to say, "This is our God, O Israel, who led you out of the land of Egypt." So Aaron is involved. Aaron is a leader. Aaron is in the wrong. The conversation, Exodus 32:21, Moses said to Aaron, "Why did this people do, or what did this people do to you, that you brought a great sin upon them?" Aaron replied, "Do not be enraged, my lord. You know that the people are inclined to do evil." So they said to me, "Make for us a god who will go ahead of us. We do not know what has happened to this Moses, the man who led us out of the land of Egypt." So I said to them, "Whoever has any gold must take it and give it to me." Then I threw it into the calf fire, and out came this calf. I thought that answer from Aaron was a little disappointing, in that he seemed at first to inflict the blame on the people, but then to give it to me. He did admit that he was the one who did construct the calf. What's the answer to the question? Well, it was nearly 40 years later, after Aaron was already dead, Moses was about to die, that Moses discloses why Aaron was not put to death for his sin of making the golden calf. And so Deuteronomy 9:20, Yahweh was so angry with Aaron that he was ready to annihilate him. But I, Moses, made supplication for Aaron at that time also. Then I took the sinful thing you made, the calf, and burned it up in the fire. I crushed it and ground it thoroughly until it was fine like dust, and I threw the dust into the stream that flows down from the mountain. So Moses says he made supplication for Aaron at that time. Now that's not clear from the text of Exodus. It is clear from the text of Deuteronomy. The Bible teaches us, James 5:16, the supplication, the intercession of a righteous man is significant. Potentially also another reason, Aaron's heart doesn't seem to be in the idolatry, in that he seems to be more of a people pleaser. And when Moses calls for those who are on the side of Yahweh to come to him, all the Levites gather round, and Aaron was in that group. Exodus 32:25, Moses saw that the people were unstrained. Aaron had let them go unrestrained, so they were a disgrace before their opposers. Moses took his position at the gate of the camp and said, "Who's on Yahweh's side? Come to me." The Levites gathered around him. He now said, "This is what Yahweh, the God of Israel, says. Each of you fasten his sword and pass through the camp from gate to gate, killing brother, neighbour, and close companion." The Levites did what Moses said. Now, next question. Patrick Johns asks, how can you say murder is wrong and then command people to murder? Is God a hypocrite? I want to differentiate between murder, between killing in a war, between killing in self-defense, killing to administer justice, administering the sword to administer justice. The principle that we should not take the life of someone is taught in Genesis 9, but also in Genesis 9, the principle is taught, if you take the life of somebody, then your life will be forfeited. Let me read that to you. Genesis 9. God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, "Be fruitful, increase in number, fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky, on every creature that moves on the ground, and all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood I'll surely demand an accounting. I'll demand an accounting from every animal, from each human being too. I'll demand an accounting for the life of another human being." Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God made humanity. As for you, be fruitful, increase in number, multiply on the earth, and increase upon it. So, I don't think you can argue from the scriptures that capital punishment is wrong. In fact, in the Old Testament theocracy, capital punishment is clearly taught. The Old Testament law prescribes the death penalty for an extensive list of wrongdoings. Murder, attacking or cursing a parent, disobedience to parents, kidnapping, failure to confine an animal, witchcraft and failure to confine an animal resulting in death, witchcraft and sorcery, human sacrifice, sex with an animal, doing work on the Sabbath, incest, adultery, homosexual. There's a range of homosexual acts. There's a range of prostitution by a priest's daughter, blasphemy, false prophecy, perjury in capital cases, refusing to obey a decision of a judge or priest, false claim of a woman's virginity at the time of marriage, sex between a woman pledged to be married and another man other than her betrothed. So there are a range of things for which capital punishment is prescribed in the Old Testament. Let me give you the one on murder. Exodus 21:12. Anyone who strikes a person with a fatal blow is to be put to death. However, if it's not done intentionally, but God lets it happen, then to flee to a place I'll designate. But if anyone schemes and kills someone deliberately, that person is to be taken from my altar and put to death. So, it's not wrong to kill. There are some times when it's right to kill. It is wrong to murder. I don't think I could argue from the scriptures that capital punishment is wrong. And in fact, what happens here in Exodus 32 is God directs capital punishment for a particular sin. Now, we think, why are we horrified at that? I think it's because we don't see idolatry as bad as idolatry really is. Idolatry is awful, and God is holy, and when people defy him, the just judgment of God is right. However, we can do as Moses does, plead for mercy. Another question: did God know that Israel was going to sin? Was he surprised by it? Did God change his mind? Did he change his ultimate plan for the world when he relented? So what I think is going on here is, yes, God knows everything. So God did know that Israel was going to sin. Was he surprised with it? By it? No. Did God change his mind? No, God had an intention of what he would do, but God also knew, and in fact God directed that, and engineered, and God is sovereign, that Moses would pray and then God would graciously relent. So God knew that Moses would pray, God directed that Moses would pray, and God planned that when Moses prayed, he would delight in answering the prayer of his mediator for the world. So I don't think God changed his ultimate plan for the world, that God had a plan that Moses misdirected, took off course. No, God planned that his servant Moses would pray, and God would delight in answering his prayers. And I think that's actually what happens today. God knows that I'm going to pray. In fact, God, in his wisdom, orchestrates that I would pray. And then God delights in answering my prayers. Elise Brake has sent in the question, how was Moses able to speak with God face to face, 33:11, without being destroyed? And Patrick Johns has sent in a similar question. Do Exodus 33:11 and 33:20 contradict? How can God and Moses speak face to face if seeing the face of God causes death? Now, that is a really good question, and there's a lot of discussion about that amongst the commentators. I found this article by Mary Fairchild helpful, and let me just give you the guts of it. She says the phrase face-to-face as used in the Bible gives important information about God the Father, but that the expression can be easily misunderstood, and the misunderstanding makes the Bible seem to contradict itself on this concept. The problem begins in the book of Exodus when the prophet Moses, speaking with God on Mount Sinai, asks God to show Moses his glory. God warns, you cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live. Exodus 33:20. God then places Moses in a cleft in the rock, covers Moses with his hand. God passes by and removes his hand so Moses may only see his back. Now, Mary says unraveling the problem begins with a simple truth. God is spirit. He doesn't have a body. God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in spirit and truth. John chapter 4, verse 24. The human mind cannot comprehend a being who is pure spirit without form or material substance. Nothing in human experience is even close to such a being. So to help readers relate to God in some understandable way, the writers of the Bible used human attributes to speak of God. And in the passage from Exodus, even God uses human terms to speak of himself. Through the Bible, we read of God's face, hands, ears, eyes, mouth, and mighty arm. Applying human characteristics to God is called anthropomorphism, from the Greek word anthropos, man or human, and morph, form. Anthropomorphism is a tool for understanding, but it's actually a flawed tool. God's not human, in that he doesn't have the features of a human body, such as face, and while he does have emotions, they're not exactly the same as our ones. And although the concept is worthwhile in aiding readers to relate to God, it can cause trouble if taken too literally. So she says the problem of seeing God's face is compounded even further by the number of Bible characters who do seem to see God yet still live. Moses, for example, in that same chapter, Exodus 33:11, the Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as one speaks to a friend. Now, in this verse, face to face is a figure of speech, a descriptive phrase that's not to be taken literally. It cannot be, for God doesn't have a face. Instead, what it means is that God and Moses share a deep friendship. The patriarch Jacob wrestled through the night with a man and managed to survive with an injured hip. Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It's because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." Peniel means face of God. However, the man Jacob wrestled with was probably an angel of the Lord, solid enough to wrestle with, but only a physical representation. Gideon also saw an angel of the Lord, Judges 6:22, as did Manoah and his wife, the parents of Samson, Judges 13:22. Isaiah the prophet said, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high and exalted, seated on the throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple." What Isaiah saw was a vision of God, a supernatural experience provided by God to reveal information. All God's prophets observed these mental pictures, which were images, but not physical, human to God encounters. In the New Testament, thousands of people saw the face of God in the human Jesus Christ. Some realized he was God, most did not. Christ was fully God and fully man. The people of Israel saw only his human or visible form and did not die. Christ was born of Jewish woman. When grown, he looked like a Jewish man, but no physical description of him is given in the Gospels. And Jesus did not compare his human face in any way with God the Father, but he did proclaim his unity with the Father. Now, the closest that humanity has come to seeing God's face in the Bible is the transfiguration of Jesus Christ. Peter, James, and John witness a majestic revelation of Jesus' true nature on Mount Hermon. God the Father masked the scene as a cloud, as he often had in the book of Exodus. The Bible says we will indeed see the face of God when in the new heaven and new earth are revealed. In Revelation 22:4, they will see his face, his name will be on their foreheads. And the difference will be that at this point the faithful will have died and will be in their resurrection bodies, knowing how God will make himself visible to Christians. We have to wait to that day. Now we know in part, then we shall know fully. Now we are known in part, then we shall be fully known. We're looking forward to that. Thanks for your time with us on Daily Bible Time this morning, and look forward to your company tomorrow when we'll be back in John's Gospel. God bless.